So let's get on to something far more unpleasant than Nana doing the brass and the vicar coming. Hello, Carré. Oh, Catherine, hello, how are you? So we're just getting on to something lovely now, and I'm just going to put, I'm going to take the comments off because you're going to want to see these in their full glory. Or maybe not, I don't know. Don't know how many of you have seen my stories, and if you haven't, then you're in for a treat or a horrifying 15 minutes. So we're coming back to this lovely man. We have talked about him a lot, haven't we? He has been with us for, well, since the beginning of the Weird Arts series, which is ongoing and doesn't show any signs of relenting. So this is our lovely Richard Rogers, who we've always joked about as a, well, I've always joked about as a kind of flasher, really. You know, he does look quite proud of what he's displaying, and certainly that's quite something to perhaps be proud of. Here he is again. This is from a 13th century French medical journal, by the way. It's not gratuitous flashing or willy waving. So yeah, here he is again. I love the way it's being pointed at, as though the viewer wasn't entirely sure what perhaps we should be addressing in this image. The guy with the saucepan lid on his head has to point. I don't think he's laughing though. No pointing and laughing. That would just be too rude. And then I found this image, which was marvellously captioned, "Don't ink and drink." I think he's got something. I was going to say, I think he's got something going on with his bottom. I bloody well hope so, because otherwise I don't really know what he's been up to, or he's sat in something nasty, or indeed he did go out and get some kind of medieval tattoo. So this is all this lovely gentleman that we have together christened Richard Rogers. But what we haven't really addressed is the fact that maybe he had something, or he was sort of going down the route of something more like, are you ready? This. So, you know, we've laughed at him, but he could have some kind of pretty nasty disease. In fact, it could be venereal disease, which I think is most certainly what this very innocent young gentleman is suffering from. He's like, what, me? And I don't know what the person he's talking to, or you know, or is sort of revealing himself to, is doing. I love the way they're pointing up to the heavens, and then with one hand and about to karate chop with the other, with a very serious look on his face. But I think it is pretty obvious, I'm afraid, that this young fellow has been visiting places like this, or that's 14th century as well. This is a 15th century woodcut. All of these three, I'm going to show you another image as well, all German and all actually 15th century. So you've got to wonder what was going on in Germany at this time. Or this, which is the most obvious of them all. I mean, look at that. There's like a little peeping Tom. It was all going on. These are from Freiburg in southern Germany, Bavaria. Is Freiburg Bavaria? Anyway, it's down there, isn't it? So yes, so this was the most common cause of people's ailments, visiting brothels, visiting prostitutes, and this is possibly what this young man has been up to, and this is possibly what this not quite so young man has also been up to. So a very nasty problem down below. And what I love about this image is that he doesn't seem to be remotely bothered about the fact that, in fact, he doesn't have any kind of middle part of him. He's been chopped off and put back together, sort of from, I don't know, somewhere just above the rib cage to somewhere just around by his navel. It's all very, very disturbing. He doesn't seem to be disturbed at all by that, but he is showing us this rather large problem. So a rather large problem. What are you going to do with this? Well, you can go around showing it to people, or you could take precautionary measures. So this, by the way, is from a surgical book, a book about surgery. Okay, I'm back. Did I go? It was trying to bloody do an update. Doesn't it know that I'm broadcasting to 4 people now? God, anyway. Sorry about that. So, yes, so preventative measures could have been taken. And so how are you going to prevent this kind of horror from happening to you? Well, you could, after you have done your business, withdraw and wash yourself immediately in a mixture of water mixed with either vinegar or urine. Nice. And that could work if you want to sort of clean yourself, or if you suspect that your partner might have something that you don't want to catch. So that's a good preventative measure. Didn't ever work, but made people feel good. Or you could go down other routes. So you could apply a poultice of various things, but things that included rotten wood. I don't think any pun was intended, but who knows. Or you could apply worms to your nether regions. Or within the poultice, you could also have root of bilberry, that common remedy, obviously. And if the poultice didn't work, you might have to do something a little bit more drastic. So as I said, this was taken from a surgical manual, and possibly then you might want to go the surgical route, or you could equally, in this instance, if the poultice didn't work, you could go the non-surgical route. And so if you went the surgical route, that would entail taking a razor to the particularly nasty looking bits and cutting them away, and then applying quicklime. A nice option. Or your other option would be to sleep with a virgin. Tricky choice. People spent days deciding what to do there, I'm fairly sure. It's just reminding me of that Eddie Izzard thing, actually. Just then, cake or death. It's like, do you want cake or death? And then when someone gets confused and says death, and they're like, no, my God, no, I meant cake. And he's like, what? No, you can't change your mind. Anyway, very surreal. If you know Eddie Izzard, you might be laughing or smiling, and if you don't, then you won't be at all, and I apologise. So those were solutions to your problems that didn't work at all. Of course, then there was also the other solution, which was mercury, which mercury. I was going to say which I'll come on to in a minute, but no, let's do mercury now. So mercury was thought to cure syphilis in particular, and it wasn't, it was used until the 20th century. It wasn't actually equated with madness and neurological disease until very, very late on. And so many people, of course, would die of mercury poisoning. They would die of the cure of syphilis rather than syphilis itself. But syphilis was also used in the making of hats. No, it wasn't at all. Mercury was also used in hat making, and I bring that up because that is where the term mad as a hatter comes from. There you go. I didn't know that actually until I did a little bit of research for this. So yeah, mad as a hatter, from mercury being used in hats. But the other thing that was going on in these times, it might have been considered that actually surgery wasn't an option for you, or that surgery wasn't required, which you'd be very pleased about. And it could be considered that in fact you got ill because you had excessive sex. That was in fact a thing. And this artist, this very beautiful artist, was considered to have died of an excess of sex. This is Raphael, the beautiful Raphael. This is a self-portrait, about 1506. And even Vasari said that he had debauched himself. Vasari, biographer of the artists, he had debauched himself even more than usual. I think meaning a mixture of sex and alcohol. And he probably didn't die of a venereal disease. In fact, what happened was even more tragic. Raphael went to see his surgeon. Had he told his surgeon that he had been engaging in marathon sessions of alfresco sex with his mistress, and that he had a raging hangover, his surgeon might have prescribed a restorative rather than bled him, but he didn't. He bled him, and Raphael essentially bled to death, very sadly. Not so this guy. So this is another artist who died not really of excessive sex, but he died of syphilis, and this is Manet. Manet died of syphilis at the age of just 51 years old. So not madness, I don't think, but syphilis. So the cure didn't kill him. And by the way, just to finish up on this rather strange Elevenses, when you are looking, as I was yesterday, for images of prostitutes or venereal disease, this image did keep cropping up. And this image is in fact not of somebody suffering from venereal disease, nor from somebody having been with a prostitute. It is the story of Attis and Cybele, which in fact I'm going to tell you next week. It's a pretty horrific image, I'm sorry about that, but this is Attis and Cybele, and nothing to do with venereal disease or prostitutes, which often went hand in hand in medieval times. So thank you very much, by the way, to Beth's history blog, she was the lady that first brought this image to my attention. Well, actually, Andrew brought this image to my attention via Beth's art history blog, or Beth's history blog. And yes, and that, that led me to a very happy few hours yesterday, Googling medieval and images of STDs. Nice. I can't even tell you what came up. You know, Google are really going to think I'm a very strange person, aren't they? Never mind. On that note, I'm going to turn images off, and I'm going to turn comments on, and I hope there wasn't too much of a blip in the middle. It was a bit, I don't know what happened there. I don't know whether you could still see me, probably looking very confused, or whether everything went dark for you as well. I don't know. That was a weird one, but maybe I was censored. Maybe I was censored for showing big red willies at 18 minutes past 11 or a quarter past 11 on a Thursday morning. I don't know. Sorry. Was all that? No, I'm not. I was going to say, I was talking about brass rubbing, but that's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry for that. I think I better go. I'm going to get myself into trouble. I wish you all a really lovely Thursday, and I hope I can save this one. I don't know whether I'll be able to, because there was that funny bit in the middle, but if I can, I will, and if I can't, then I don't know, maybe I'll do it again to myself into my phone and record it some other way. Anyway, with love to you all, and have a great day and have a lovely weekend, and look after yourselves. The willy police will be after you. Oh, well, they won't find anything on me, I can tell you. There we go. On that note, I'll say goodbye. Thanks for joining.